What is going on, everyone? My name is Andy. Welcome back to another FPL video, and today we're looking at my watch list ahead of Double Game Week 24. So I'm going to do like my team selection later in the week. I'm going to do an overview of Double Game Week 24 in terms of players to target tomorrow. But I thought for this one I'd do it specifically with my team and the three kind of players that I am potentially looking at bringing in this week. I've got 2 free transfers, so lots to potentially play around with. So if you do enjoy this video, please do give it a like. Hit subscribe if you're new around here. Let's jump into it. So before we talk about the specific players, I thought I'd really quickly touch on my team, because obviously if I've already got a player, they're not also on my watch list, right? This isn't team selection. I'm not going to go through my thoughts about all these players, but in terms of Double Game Week 24, I currently have 5 players. Now, I think most people will have at least 5, potentially 6. So 3 Man City, Calvert-Lewin probably from Everton, and then 1 Burnley defender, right? And then maybe you've got a second Burnley defender, maybe you've got an Everton defender, whatever it might be. Now, I'm kind of in a weird situation where I've got 5, but I've got 3 Man City, as expected, 2 of them defenders, 1 Burnley defender, but it's Ben Mee, not Nick Pope. And then I've got Chris Wood up front, who potentially is going to be injured for this. We're going to have to wait and see what the diagnosis is there. We'll see whether he starts in the FA Cup and stuff like that. So I do have 5 players, but most people are going to have Calvert-Lewin, maybe an Everton defender. So I've got to have a think about that in terms of how I get them in. And if Chris Wood is injured, what do I do with him? Do I keep Antonio and stuff like that? So team selection-wise, I'll do that later in the week. But I wanted to go through that just so you can see where I'm already at. So Cancelo is not going to be on this watch list. I already own him. That makes perfect sense. But there is still a Man City player that I'm looking at bringing in. So let's talk about that. So one thing I should have said at the start when I was talking about my team is I don't have a wild card. So I'm obviously trying to think carefully about bringing players in, and then are they good for like a long-term hold? Is there a good reason to bring them in? Because if not, it's difficult to then warrant using a transfer to bring them in, that I'm then stuck with a player that I don't want, whether they've got a double game week or not. And obviously I do have potentially 5 players, maybe 4, if Chris Wood is out. So Raheem Sterling is someone I am seriously looking at, right? For a couple of reasons. One, I definitely want to captain a Man City player in this double game week. I don't think I can really be convinced to go Burnley or Fernandes against West Brom. I'd rather go for the 2 shots at it. And Man City have got 2 games. Yes, they're not completely easy games, but this is a team that's just put 4 past Liverpool, right? Everton have just conceded 3 to Man United. I'm sure Man City on their day can do well in both these games, right? So I want to captain a Man City player. Gundogan is an easy, obvious option, right? And if I don't bring Sterling in, then he probably will be my captain. But Sterling, I think, needs to have serious consideration now, right? He's a player that when he's on form, it tends to go that he kind of carries on with that, right? When he's looking good, he performs, we get him in. Other players like, okay, Gundogan missed the penalty, but he has like a couple of shots, gets a couple of goals, happy days. Sterling's having a lot more shots in the box right now. His expected goal involvement is very similar, but a lot of his points potential is coming from goal threat, right? So in the last 4 matches that Gundogan and Sterling have played, Gundogan's had 4 shots in the box and Sterling's had 10, right? So he is getting in the box, he is getting those shots off, and I think he'll be, it's debatable whether he or Gundogan are the best captains this week, but Sterling is definitely right up there, and also he's going to be massively differential. Most people are already locked in with their 3 City, right, as I am as well. So using a transfer to get another one is potentially not the best idea, right, to swap one out to get another one, because I'd have to swap a defender out, right? But I am considering it because everybody's got double defence, which I do still think is good, but they do have some tough enough fixtures coming up, right? Liverpool scored against them, albeit it was a penalty. Could Everton and Spurs nick a goal potentially? Right, so this is the kind of things I'm thinking about. And also, even if City have a double game week in 24, 26 and 27, which is possible, pretty much in each of those game weeks, there's a tough fixture, right? And you could say that no fixture is tough for City, but in terms of winning the game, yes, they'll probably do that. But conceding a goal obviously wipes out the clean sheet. And I do wonder if there's going to be a little bit of rotation for John Stones. I'm not as worried now he started against Liverpool, because I think that was pretty much Pep's best 11 for most positions, right? And obviously they did really well, so he's not probably going to want to change that too much. The same kind of concerns could be said over Sterling as well, right? Is he going to be rotated a lot? Potentially, but he started 3 of the last 4, and in those 3 games he had 4 attacking returns. I think he looks good right now, and it's really just that captaincy. I kind of want to captain him in game week 24 when everyone else is going to be looking at Gundogan. That could backfire, but I would own Gundogan as well. It's not, for me, it's not Sterling or Gundogan. It's going to be both, and I would get off the double defence. So that's something I'm strongly considering. Obviously, with anything we talk about this week, we're really waiting until the fixtures are kind of confirmed, or we at least know who's going to blank and who's going to double, because transfers will be dictated from there. But if they get another double in 26, one of the fixtures is West Ham. And if they get a double game week in 27, that means they're going to have 6 fixtures in just 3 game weeks. So will Sterling start all of them? There is a little bit of risk involved. And would I captain him in the other game weeks? Probably not in 26, but maybe in 27. So that is what I'm looking at. I think Gundogan's played really well. He's possibly still on penalties. We'll have to wait and see. But in terms of underlying numbers outside of the penalties, Sterling is right up there. And in terms of goal threat, he's looking really good. He can obviously play on the left or the right. When Foden comes in, obviously he can do the same. There is some rotation worries. But I just think Spurs and Everton are pretty tricky games. And I feel like when you look at kind of team sheets, when, Pep's put his team sheet, Diaz is definitely going to be on there. Right now, Gundogan's definitely going to be on there, and so is Ederson. So there's like a layer of nailed onness, and I think those 3 are at the top. And then I think it's Sterling. I think he is going to start most matches. Obviously, they do have players that can rotate with him, but when he's fit, he does tend to start most of them. So strongly looking at him. It would be a big move, don't get me wrong, right? It would be kind of out of my comfort zone kind of move, but it is a bit different. Like, if you're looking to attack game week 24, it's very difficult. Like I said at the start, 3 City, 1 Burnley defender, Calvert-Lewin, plus maybe 1 or 2 more. That's what most people are going to have this week. They're obviously going to have Fernandes as well against West Brom. So I'm trying to think of something a little bit different that I could do. And Sterling captain would be one of those things. So we'll have to wait for the fixtures, but he is someone I'm strongly looking at. So Calvert-Lewin is firmly on the watch list. I did consider bringing him in when they played Newcastle, but I just decided to bring in Grealish and Son instead. And to be honest, I don't think that move has necessarily backfired when you take into account that Grealish then scored more points that week, and the Son was obviously my captain this week as well. But Calvert-Lewin has also done really well. I know a lot of people probably panicked after bringing him in against Newcastle. I saw loads of people talking about reversing the transfer against Leeds, but he does end up scoring there, and he gets his points against Man United. A bit frustrating how that happened, by the way, but it is what it is. And I now think he looks like a good option for the double game week. So a lot of people will say, is there any point in bringing in a player who's got to play Man City in a double game week, right? And I would almost go into this thinking that Man City game is a blank straight away. Now, I said that on stream last night. I saw an Everton fan not too happy with that comment, but I pretty much think that for any of my players playing against Man City or Liverpool, right? Last night, I played a few Man City players. I would have expected blanks. Luckily, Gundogan got 2 goals and missed a penalty as well. And the same for my Liverpool players. I had Salah, but of course I'm going into it thinking he can get something, right? He can, but the odds are obviously diminished when you're playing such a good team. So therefore, I would expect appearance points against Man City, and then anything else is a bonus. But we should not ignore appearance points, right? Even 2 points is pretty big when you then couple it with a game where you could see him getting 1 or 2 goals. He did really, really well in the reverse fixture against Fulham. And for me, I've got 2 choices. Either I've got Chris Wood who's injured, in which case Calvert-Lewin comes in for him, or if Chris Wood is fit, I could keep him and potentially get rid of Antonio. Now, that is a tricky decision because Antonio's got a good fixture, although Sheffield United are playing much better at the moment. And Everton also have 1 good fixture. So then it's just the additional Man City fixture, which isn't necessarily that great, but we still shouldn't ignore 2 extra appearance points plus some against Fulham. So then it's a case of looking ahead and how long do I want him in my team, really, right? So Liverpool away, difficult game. Again, I would go into that expecting not very many points. Maybe they'll have one of their new centre-backs playing then. Obviously, I know a lot of people think the Liverpool defence isn't great, and even after the 4-1 win for City, obviously it looks a bit stupid to sit here and say it's still good, but Man City are brilliant, right? That is a different game altogether. Liverpool will not find it as tough against Everton. So I would say this would be quite a low-scoring game. Southampton at home, though, in 26 now looks good, and if Everton double in that game, it would be pretty difficult to ignore him. I still think he's an option, even if they don't double in 26, because potentially I could turn him into Harry Kane at some point, or Ollie Watkins for the double in 26 if Everton don't play twice. And then it's Chelsea away. The good thing is, what's not shown on screen, is Everton fixtures after 27 are quite good. And obviously, if they were to play in game week 29, i.e. if they lose to Spurs, then again, he's good for 29, and I might not have to use my free hit if I've got a few Everton players in. So he is firmly on my watch list, someone I'm definitely considering. In fact, I'm not really sure how I go into this week without him. I just think either for Chris Wood or for Antonio, I'd probably bring him in. I just think that West Ham game for Antonio is good, but it's maybe not as good as it looked a few weeks ago. And obviously, I love Calvert-Lewin. I had him in game week 1. His stats all season have been really good. They've got a bunch of players back now. They played really well in the second half against Man United. And if they could do something similar against Fulham, there'll be goals in this one again for Calvert-Lewin. Like, I could see him getting 1 or 2 goals in that game, and then you're just hoping that he nicks something against Man City. So definitely on the watch list. Almost certainly coming in. I just have to figure out who for. So next up is Nick Pope. Now, realistically, this could be Nick Pope or another Burnley defender. The only issue is if I bring in a defender, it does give me a bit of a benching headache, which I already have. Right? I'm already benching Wan-Bissaka against West Brom and so far against Sheffield United. So in terms of bringing in another defender, it could get a bit messy. Maybe if I bring in Sterling, then I get Loughton for Stones instead and have double Burnley defence and double City attack. But if I don't go for a defender, I will be looking at Nick Pope because the fixtures just look so good for Burnley. Now, we've talked about Burnley a few times, especially on captaincy videos, and their underlying numbers have not been that good so far this season. Not what you would necessarily expect from a Burnley side, but they obviously have me and Tarkowski there, and they do organise that defence really well. They tend to defend deep and organise, and they don't let too many shots, or at least too many good quality shots, go off against Nick Pope. So Nick Pope, the thing that I love about him is he often gets very easy saves. He is an extremely good shot stopper, right? We can talk about the England team. He should definitely be in there ahead of Jordan Pickford, but he's a really good shot stopper. But what happens for Burnley is they limit teams and they frustrate them, and it makes them take long-range shots. And those are obviously easier to save most of the time for goalkeepers. And often you get those like P-roller shots that come in and you just have to pick it up and it's just an easy save. And yeah, so he makes his share of good ones, not taking that away from him, but he also gets much easier ones as well. Then you start racking up the save points. Then you start racking up the bonus. And if I had to guess right now which Burnley defender or goalkeeper comes out on top in the double game week, it would definitely be Nick Pope. So a double up is not out of the question. Now, even though the defensive stats are not brilliant, the two teams they're facing are pretty good teams to face, right? Fulham were good against West Ham, but I just don't see them having that much kind of luxury against Burnley. So straight away, Burnley at home against Fulham, that's a good fixture. And then Crystal Palace away, a lot of that's going to depend on Zaha, but I don't think he's going to be ready for this game. We'll obviously have to wait for press conferences. And if he isn't, that's another really good game for Burnley. So potentially, and obviously we're always looking for the bright side, the upside, and that is that, or best case scenario, and that is that Burnley get 2 clean sheets. Even if they didn't, right, let's just say they got 1. That's 6 points straight away. You got 2 points for appearance in the other one, unless they get absolutely battered, but I doubt that. So that's 8 points for your Burnley defender or goalkeeper. And then that's without even taking account bonus or save points on top of that. So I can't see necessarily how Nick Pope doesn't come out of this game with at least a double-digit haul, so at least 10 points. I know people have talked about him for captaincy. We'll talk about captaincy later on. I still think I would rather go for an attacker from Man City, but almost for like the safety of 10 points at least, I would probably look at someone like Nick Pope if I wanted to captain him. So I think he has to be a consideration for me. I've got Ben Mee. The reason I brought him in, I won't go into right now, but it just made more sense for future transfers. And plus, I have got David De Gea this week against West Brom away. And sitting on my bench, I've got Martinez against Brighton away, right? So it's not like I haven't got good goalkeepers for this week, but they only have 1 game. And again, I think a lot of people, Triple City, 1 Burnley defender, and Calvert-Lewin, that's probably going to be the template double game week players. And I'm not saying that's going to be the only players. Some people will have more, like I already said earlier in the video. But I think having double Burnley defence will probably be a differential this week. Most people will have 1. I don't know how many people will have 2. Obviously, if you've got a wild card about to be played, you can load up on Burnley and not worry about it because you can wild card them out. For people like me who haven't got a wild card, you have to think about it a little bit more. And the fixtures afterwards are not fantastic, right? West Brom at home is really good in 25, but then it's Spurs away and Arsenal at home. So that's going to be tricky for clean sheets. But obviously, Pope will get his save points in them. I think for me, Aston Villa are almost certainly going to double in 26, and I've already got Martinez on the bench, so that's not really a concern. If Burnley doubled in 26, so I'd probably still play Martinez anyway. So it's a big decision around game week 24. If I say that Calvert-Lewin is one of my transfers, I do have one other one. So Nick Pope could come in instead, or as well as, and that could be my 2 transfers. That would leave me with either 6 or 5 or 6 basically, or 6 or 7 I think, players if Chris Wood was fit. If Chris Wood's not fit, then it probably just leaves me with the 6 instead, which would be about the same as everyone else. As long as I can work my transfers for the rest of the season, that's not a bad ploy, but we'll have to wait and see. But I do think Burnley defender looks really good this week. You cannot doubt those fixtures, and Nick Pope is probably the pick of the bunch. There we go. That is it for this one. Thank you very much for watching. Those 3 players are definitely top of my watch list. Will I look at the likes of Luca Dean, possibly Loughton as well, instead of Nick Pope for the Burnley double up? I think Pope is the one I'd want to go for, but Loughton is potentially easier to hold because obviously he's a defender. I could just keep him on my bench for the other week. So I don't think I'm really looking at anyone else from Man City. I could go to Diaz, but it just feels like a bit of a... It's not even that it's sideways. It's just that right now there's so many other things to worry about. I think I just chance that Cancelo and Stones keep getting enough starts where Diaz is not necessarily as essential as he probably looks, because he is going to start all of the games. He is the better option in terms of starts, but I think Cancelo and Stones got me enough points up to this week that I just keep going through with them. And Fulham, I'm not even looking at them, right? Maybe you could take a punt if you had a wild card soon, but I don't, and there's no way I want to be holding Fulham players. They are not even in my thinking. So there we go. That's my watch list for 24. Please do give it a like if you enjoyed it. Hit subscribe if you're new around here as well. And lastly, if you want to sign up to Patreon, support me and the channel a bit further, link in the description below. Everyone that signs up goes up on the Legends wall. So thank you to everybody that is already supporting on there and getting some of the perks and benefits that are available. Slack access, WhatsApp access, all that good stuff. And a big shout out to Stavros H, who was signed up since the last stream as well. I'll leave that video there. Please do give it a like if you enjoyed it. Hit subscribe if you're new around here, and I'll be back tomorrow for another FPL video.